Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the latest edition of the Jacob Elyachar Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Elyachar, chief content producer and writer at jakesick.com, a pop culture entertainment news website. If you're listening to us on audio, please give us a 5-star rating. If you're watching us on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up and please subscribe. I'm thrilled to welcome my latest guest. She's a New York City-based singer-songwriter. She has opened for the likes of Gregg Allman, Bon Jovi, Robert Randolph, and Aimee Mann. And her music has been praised by outlets such as Consequence, Entertainment Tonight, with Friday 29 and Spin. So please help me welcome Danielia Cotton to the podcast.
Hey.
Hi, Danielia. How are you today?
I'm doing good.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to talk with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, so let's get started. So when you get interested in performing, and how did that passion evolve and desire to pursue a career in the recording industry?
I was a pretty off the chain kid, like most artists. Just, I was a handful, and I was raised by a single mom who had 4 kids, and we were different because we had different fathers. So we got along, but there was like little minute differences, and so we were all whatever. And I grew up in New Jersey in a small town that was primarily white at the time. So we were just facing a lot. Even though my mom was in her childhood home, that's where my grandfather chose to live, which ties in, you'll see later. Just, but so, all that emotional, brooding, whatever, artist in me, she gave me a guitar when I was 12 to just see if that could help. And it did. And she says I didn't come out of the room. She gave me the guitar with a book, how to, because she couldn't afford the lessons. And basically, I just formed like a C and a G, and I stayed in there because in the beginning, your calluses on your fingertips are horrible, and it hurts. But I, forged through, and I stayed. And then, once I could write a song and put my feelings somewhere, um, and recycle that pain into something good, I was off to the races. But my mom's sisters were also singers, so she's got 10 brothers and sisters. 6 are girls, and they have a gospel a cappella group called Brooks Ensemble Plus that I joined pretty early in my life, like somewhere between 13 and 15. But my aunt was doing background for Southside Johnny. So it was a musical family. My brother always listened. So that bug was in me to just be on the stage. So I just sort of would go outside and use a stick because we were in the country and sing on the stone in the backyard. Donna Summers, ooh, so it was just there. I think it was just there. Yeah.
It's amazing. Like, I come from a family myself. My brother is has played trombone, tuba, taught himself how to play guitar and piano, and I sing in choir from 5th grade to 12th grade.
Oh, wow. Yeah, yes, choir. It's awesome. Awesome.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, who are the singers, songwriters, and musicians that inspired your sound?
Wow. I mean, even though my mom had Bonnie Raitt albums early, you know, I tended to listen to Nancy Wilson. My mom was way into jazz. Had this song called Guess Who I Saw Today. And like country music, kind of, a lot of jazz songs had a story kind of thing. And this one was, you know, this singer sings about she was out and she saw this couple and they were so in love. She's telling her husband and did it at the end. She was like, guess who I saw today? I saw you. And I was like, whoa. And so I loved her voice, that it was captivating, the story thing. And there was a singer out back then named Phyllis Hyman who died, actually. I think it was a drug overdose. Somewhere in my lifetime, it was crazy. I played that over it, and Here's That Rainy Day. She did a cover. And then my mother had songs in the key of life. Um, and, as far as kind of rock, I think I was inspired more by less of a singer type than people would think. The fact that Mick Jagger sort of doesn't really, it's the way he does it. It was all about having that thing where nowadays it's all about how many runs you can do and that you have 5 octaves. I grew up in a time when there were like Joe Cockers and Mick Jagger. Joe Cocker maybe had 1 octave, but when you saw him perform, you were riveted. You did not sit down. So, it was more about what it the material did to me. Like I fell in love more with Stevie Wonder's stories, I think, more than the thing. So for me, falling in love with a singer was about what the story that they told, not what they did with their voice, how they pulled you in. And that is their voice. It's like a thing, a tone, So those early people, like, I think, I hate to say it, and a little bit maybe was more influenced by male singers like Donny Hathaway's sadness in the tone. Phyllis Hyman, I should have known somewhere down the line she would take her life. There was a sadness. There was something in the tone. It's like the difference between everybody not knowing what sells and then, Nora Jones drops with no runs. It's all tone, 17 million albums. It's all about tone. It's all about what pulls you in, something about the voice. It's just, I think it's a little the other way right now. It's more about stories and things like that. Like the Taylor Swifts have switched that to this other thing. And it's not to say that either or is bad. I hate to comment and say that our generation's better or this. This is where they are, where we were, where I was. I feel lucky to have grown up in the Tina Turner era, in the time when Chaka Khan, they're just everything about their life was in their voice, and that informed everything. And I think to some degree the music industry should kind of don't let that go away. It's good.
I have to agree with you on that because the thing is, I'm still moved by when Joe Cocker sings "When a Night Comes." It still gives me goosebumps. And then Tina, I'm so great. I'm like I wish Tina. I was going to surprise my mom with Mother's Day gift for Tina Turner, her birthday gift for Tina Turner concerts, her last Kansas City show, but she said I cannot do that. I'm like, come on, Mom, it's Tina Turner.
Yeah.
So I definitely have regret not seeing Tina live, but like I get you. Like when I saw Tony Bennett in New York at Radio City Music Hall, when I saw Janet Pohl in Barclay, when I saw Sir Elton and Madison Square Garden, I was blown took away. I was pulled into their things, and like even a good Michael Jackson, and like I always go to see a Michael Jackson tour, have the background as I work. I'm like, because Michael pulled me in.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a big thing. So I don't want to say that it was a different time. And I think, we have to, those of us that grew up in that era, I almost feel like it's our responsibility to keep that going and to somehow not let that sort of aspect of the art die, because I think it's crucial. And I think that right now, they might not even know it, these new generations. They're looking for that. They are looking for that. It's here. It's here. It's cataloged. You can find it. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Awesome. So as I mentioned earlier, you opened for the likes of Gregg Allman, Bon Jovi, Robert Randolph, and Aimee Mann. So what were some of the lessons that you learned from those artists that helped you grow as a performer?
I mean, Gregg Allman and Robert Cray, especially when you go out. Well, and I would say, the same for like Bon Jovi too, but some of the performers that have had, their fame before I really got there, I was like, really, I don't want to go on the road. I want to go on with, somebody that's, current. That's what you think to yourself. And every time I walked out, the flawlessness of a Gregg Allman show, the flawlessness of Cray's band was so astonishing. We were younger than them. I mean, I was like in my 30s, which feels young. And now, and we stood on the stage pretty much every night because we were blown away by the band and the quality, the level. It was every night flawless wall of sound. It's like I've always liked, my other half loves Bruce Springsteen, like they're crazy. And I got tickets through a family member and was like second row in the Hall of Fame. And he came on, it was like, all right, whatever. I thought the albums were Born in the USA, whatever. He speaks to white men, not me. And then he got on stage and it was like, whoa. It was like, huh. That night, his performance and Bonnie Raitt were like, she started singing and I was like, I quit. It was the tone. And I think it was that Crosby, Stills and Nash, David Crosby, that died just recently, he announced her and he's like, "This is like my favorite singer in the world." I was like, yeah." Her tone was crazy, but that's what you see, and we were firsthand, so you just were like, "Wow!" And we stepped up our game as openers. I was just with another guitarist, and it was amazing. There's a lot to be learned. There's some showmanship that I don't know that I've seen ever since that. Yeah.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you on showmanship, and also with the Bruce Springsteen, because I'm a lifelong. I'm a second generation Bruce Springsteen fan. My dad is a huge fanboy of Bruce Springsteen, and
Yeah.
we the privilege. I've had the privilege of seeing him twice perform in Kansas City, but my dad has seen him more times than I can count. So I agree with you on that. Like, he's one of the best live performers in the world, and it feels like with this industry, if I rather see some really good vocals than all these laser lights and choreographed dances and any. I rather see more. I rather
No,
hear
like the
more.
scene changes. Yeah. All this, there's like smoke and mirrors because they're also, but you got to give it to, you can't hate a Taylor Swift for her strength is her songwriting. It's not really the other things. It's, to me, that's just my opinion. And she attaches herself to those who are great at it. She finds other artists that have elevated the game of that. And then she goes and works with them. And who's going to say no to Taylor Swift? And so she at least is going towards greatness to learn and get that in her thing. And so it has really upped the level of her storytelling. And to me, the ultimate step for her would be to take that story and then really like envelop herself in it. She wouldn't need any of the other things. She then wouldn't need this whole like push. She could just rely on the fact that she has strong stories that she tells, whether it's your story or not. She's speaking to a generation that feels what she feels and then immerses herself in that. I think she would find she wouldn't need it, just would elevate, and she'd probably get some of us to get more on board because it would be more about that, because you lose a little bit of that when it's all this. You forget.
Oh yeah,
The older bands just have a band and a wall of sound and a show so tight that that's all it is. They let you imagine, which is another thing. Don't take the imaginary aspect from us. In everything that's art now, even in Broadway things, they color everything in. The beauty of all of those art forms is that they used to leave room for us to draw what we felt. How we all go into a story that you're singing is different. The person sitting next to me identifies with her story a different way than I do as a Black girl if she's white. And so what I see in my head when she sings it might not be what she is. So give us a little room to figure that out for ourselves. Um, it's like you're coloring everything in, and how do these kids find any way to sort of um, ignite imagination in someone watching them? And I think that's dying too. It's doing everything for us. And every 30 seconds they want you to add a new element when you're recording because a listener drops out. It's like, no, just stay with the story. Don't, that's what's making people so, like, with the phones and you're like stimulus all the time, all the time, all the time.
oh yeah.
It's, yeah, we're killing the imagination to a certain
I
extent. You gotta foster that. That's why I think I should look to find the book. There was a mother and she wrote a book about that, and she said there will never be another Steve Jobs, and it's because these kids have grown up in this era. There will never be like we did. My mother didn't have much. They sent you outside with some stones and a piece of chalk, and you had to make the games. You had to make things. You had to use what was in here, and that's it's just, yeah, some of my sadness is I hope that we rekindle that a little bit. At least with my daughter, I'm trying. I'm trying. She's 6. She hates when I take the tablet away. Jacob. Yeah.
I here's the thing. I go back because I'm part of class 2007, and why I think the last generation to have any smartphones. Like, yeah, we had it in the Game Cubes and the Game Boy Colors, but we at least had time to at least moderate with moderation of going outside and everything. So, and I think, but like the thing is, it's like sad to say that there's not a lot of great opportunities for people to say, hey, let's put the tablet, that we're all addicted to our phones and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think that, we all have to sort of, I try to, with one little person here, you know, try to tell her, like she told me that she hates school, school, because she goes to a private school downtown here. And I said, it's nothing this isn't going to do anything. What you have in your pocket, your money. I said, the most power you have is what you know, your knowledge, your mind. And she was like, really? I was like, really, really, really? That's where you want to be rich.
Mm-hmm.
That will, everything else will come as a result of that. This is important. And I promise you, you stay in this school, you're going to get really smart.
And
So,
I value education as well, so I
yeah,
agree with you 100%.
yeah,
And also with knowledge as well. And speaking of knowledge and passing down stuff, I want to talk to you about your upcoming EP, Charley's Pride,
yes,
and
yeah.
you're honoring one of the great storytellers of all time, Mr. Charley Pride. So, how important was it for you to introduce a new generation to Charley Pride's music?
Well, I mean, sort of the obstacles that I faced weren't any different than what he faced in the sense that, you know, I was a black girl trying to sing rock, well, mixed or whatever. And they were sort of like, she doesn't match, why, I walk in a room, they're going to assume I'm doing R&B or soul music. I think for Charley Pride, he came in at a time into a genre that really there wasn't there were hardly any blacks really that were prevalent like in that at that time. And when he came in the 60s, he was a baseball player to the best of my knowledge, and he came in actually during all of that, you know the whole movement when blacks were really trying to um, make their way in, and not even gain freedom but just like get back some just fundamental rights. um, and even his first song, I want to say it was Kiss an Angel, like they switched it because an audience didn't feel comfortable with a black man, whatever. Where Snakes Crawl at Night, which is more about somebody talking about I killed, snakes crawl at night. That's what they say when the sun goes down. And it's all about the guy talking about catching his wife cheating. And so he killed, the lover, and he tells the judge before he dies. So they're like, okay, we can get behind that. A black man singing. But, they had to be comfortable. But he went into a genre at a time when that wasn't that. And he did it, and he stayed, and he persevered. And at the end of the day, I mean, to this day, he's the second highest selling artist on RCA, right behind Elvis Presley, which nobody knows. And he's also the first black in the Grand Ole Opry. So I'm surprised, but well, I don't want to say surprised because I tried to write that once in a thing, and me and my publicist got into it. I think the word was there or whatever. It's You don't want to say that your fellow race that they didn't get that, but it's like, as blacks are now, they've emerged in country music in that genre, and they've become incredibly prevalent. And you know Beyonce, it's great, and all of a sudden they thought she shined the light, but there were a lot of black artists in there right now that
I
were
gotta
already
say that.
there.
I gotta say Mickey Guyton. I gotta say
Yes,
Jimmy Allen.
yes,
Gotta say
yes,
Kane Brown. My friends
yes.
Chapel Hart. They really
Yep.
are really thriving.
No, and Rihanna, there was a lot of people in there. And so she did, yes, shine a brighter light, and then it really popped it open. But there's been people in there making their way, forging their way, telling the black story within a genre that wasn't necessarily, that they didn't really have that, or it might have been a little bit like, whoa, but then let them in. So we can't forget that. And he's a serious, if there are any black icons at all, which I think he's the only one to date, he's the only one. So I just wanted to honor that guy. Like, don't forget, there was way a lot of people. That was one of the first black men to really go in and just do it. He was like a sort of like a Nat King Cole, it's like not even a light skinned guy, like a dark black skinned man going into a genre and winning, you know. So that is, I love that. So, and then the fact that my grandfather, who decided to raise his children and buy, you know, half, like a good portion of a road, I can't remember how many acres in a white town. And that's where I grew up. He did the same thing. And he was quiet and he had elegance and grace. And to this day, I mean, the whole town respected him. They just did. Hi, Mr. Brooks. He would always tip his hat. You know, that I feel like Charlie Pride, even the footage I've seen of him on shows, he was always just like, yeah. And it's pretty great. So I thought that that was a cool thing. It tied to my family, and my grandmother is still alive, and we interviewed her. She's 103, and she was like, "It was
Wow.
my album he told, you know, and then he took it from me." So, so yeah, she's alive. She reads like 5 books a week or something crazy, and this is where I come from. So their stories aren't that dissimilar. So I liked Charlie Pride's sort of perseverance, and he just did that genre spoke to him, and why shouldn't he sing it, and why shouldn't that door not be open to him? So I kind of like that it is. And just now, you know like I said, it's the lights being shined on for many reasons, and you thank whoever did it. But there's a lot of people that should get the credit, not just one. Yeah.
I agree completely, and I loved your take on Roll on Mississippi. It was very beautiful and very gorgeous.
Well, the guys in the band literally were like, when we were trying to do it, we sat and we were like, how are we going to do this? And our bass player, Andy Hess, goes, I got it. Bitter End, Donny Hathaway, jealous guy. And then they were like, boom, 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 boom. And it was and then I realized it's about where you grew up and what that means to you, and that place you go back into your head. Just what a place that holds something for you that you carry with you through your life. And I always say, if you're going to cover something, you have to find your way in the story. And then that was my in. So, yeah.
That's amazing. I want to talk about some of the story, some of your like before we got on the call. I was listening to you on your Spotify, and I loved your cover of "Give Me Shelter." It was like I remember some of my like Rolling Stones, and like there's different versions of it. Like Christina
Yeah.
Ray is like my friend Christina Ray delivered a Power Punch version on AGT. The Rolling Stones have their version, but I gotta say, will you make "Give Me Shelter" so much bluesier?
And that was Amy Helm who did that with me. So, who I love, she's great. Um, but the producer, Kevin, when I did that cover album, we did a whole bunch of covers. We tackled some deep things. We just went for it. I was just like, yeah. And it was to me like, now that song is as meaningful today. Like, oh, war, something's coming. Like, whoa, like it's that we're there now. When they sing that on stage now, it probably rings true, so true for where we are, which is kind of sad to a certain degree that
Mhm.
we're where we are right now, but that's okay. Music always, inspires. But
Absolutely.
yes, that was, yeah, to me, that song, right now, it's like so poignant in this moment, but great tune, great tune.
Absolutely. And I loved your cover, Sweet Dreams Are Made of These. I gotta say, I'm so sorry to Annie Lennox, but you and Dolly are like killing it with this cover.
And that was Rachel Yamagata, who did that with me. And that again, we went for like a don't do. And to me, I was like, oh, this is somebody that's just not your friend. Sweet dreams, some of them want to that. I just went to that place like, oof, like trying to find the people that don't, it's sort of like, it's a little deep, dark thing in there in that message. But yeah, it can be like, if you know that, you're okay, but know who's on your side and who not on your side. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and we gotta talk about Respect Yourself. It's another one, a really great song.
um Tracy Bonham. Yeah, so there were a lot of artists that live up there in Woodstock because it's Woodstock, um which is crazy because my other half, his dad's brother, was one of the 4 guys that did Woodstock, and
Oh
that's why I
wow.
ran my first, marathon. John Roberts, but we all called him Jock. He died, but like his kids have um they own, I guess, the Woodstock right thing, with along with Joel and Michael. And um but the stories he could tell, I was like, wow, I got so close to it. Married into a family that, there he was. I was like, what was that like? What did you do? But yeah, Tracy. I met her up there because the producer was there, and she's great, another great artist. And we just, if you're going to cover something, you got to find your way and own it in your way. So that is, you know, I think that's the only way you should really do a cover. So I always try to find some way into the story. So she was great to work with. Really love her. Really soulful voice. So we just went at it in our own way, not to try to beat it, but to find our way. It's just to find my way in, my take. Yeah.
All right, the last song I want to talk to you about is, well, probably your most streamed song on Spotify as of this recording is Good Day.
Yeah, yeah. I wrote that with Jeff Cohen, who's an incredible songwriter in his own right, very celebrated BMI songwriter. And because we wrote a musical together, which will come out at some point, which was pretty interesting and awesome. Um, Learned a lot from him just because he's a professional songwriter, and we did that in COVID. And we didn't want to feel down. Like nobody wanted sad music. Everybody was doing like emo things in COVID, and all the songs were like, and so we were like, let's write something like happy. And so that's how that came. And it was good. It was like, I think people want to have a party. It's like you look out your window and there's nobody in the street. You just wanted a good day. So that's kind of where that came. We're trying to lift our own spirits inevitably. So yeah.
And I gotta say this, I kind of wish that Good Day New York or Live with Kelly and Mark or Tambourine took you up on like saying, hey, can
Yeah.
we license this song?
Yeah. No, it is we have gotten licensing from like the medical commercials and they keep, relicensing it. But yeah, I think everybody says, but actually a person reached out to me that is her husband is running for something. I want to say not a senator, but like House. I can't remember, but it's higher than like your councilman or, and they were like, could we use the song? I was like, oh yeah, yeah. What side are you? Democrat? Okay. No. So, if you're giving your song to the wrong man, no. But it's cool. I was like, yeah, if you choose to use I'm completely and utterly, flattered. Yeah. So
Oh, awesome. So we gotta start winding down our conversation. So have you thought about anybody that you want to work with in the future, like any additional singers or songwriters or musicians, and how would they enhance your sound?
I mean, oh man, so many people that I wanted to work with passed in the last, like, Prince is gone, and you know, um, I've always thought Pink was cool, like for what she does. It's not a genre that I'm, fully steeped in myself, but I like her, and I like that. I like what she says, and I like what she's going for. Chris Stapleton's amazing. Like he's got tone for days. Um, And I actually, when I think about the things that I'm running to, any artists that are like a bit older but like great, um, I think Shelby Lynn. I like her. I know it's weird, like her first album. It's just I love the whole vibe of that. Um, sometimes I just turn albums over to see, but I'm probably that person that wishes I could go back in and get all those people that have passed because like I said, they were doing it the way that I want to do it. So, finding more like that it would be difficult. Um, but it's not to say I don't appreciate somebody like Adele, who I think has depth, or, that some of the new kids are sonically introducing things that are adding to that sort of musical highway in a good way. I don't think it's about us saying who's right or wrong. I think there's an audience for everything that we all do. It's just trying to find something that hit me in the way that I was hit as a child in a different way. And so maybe I'm just made up differently because of where I come
Mhm.
from and when I was born. Like my daughter's 6, she grew up in COVID. She thinks there should always be somebody with her paying attention to her because we were all in the same house. So
Oh
it's
yeah.
difficult for her to not have attention. And, so we are byproducts of our, you know, how we were raised, what we were born into, and that kind of thing. So I would probably go back and get a few people like Bowie,
Oh yeah.
and
That
just go back and get like that. Just greatness like that. Yeah. But Paul McCartney, I would say a living artist that probably still has a lot in there to say that, just from a melodic harmonic standpoint, just tell me anything I could just catch on to. There are people still around that have that. Yeah.
Great choices, great choices. I totally agree. We lost a lot of incredible people as well. I gotta say, last question. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, Danielle, where can they find your music and where can they connect with you on social media?
I'm on Instagram at Danielia Cotton, Facebook at Danielia Cotton, TikTok at Danielia Cotton. I think my website is like www.danieliacotton.com. YouTube, same. Danielia Cotton is everything, pretty much. And I'm sold, on iTunes, like most streaming places, any place that streams. Like nowadays, you download into most of these distributors and you're on all of the streaming networks. But, Amazon still sells some solid things. But when I do live shows, I bring vinyl, which is really hard to get. We have a show this week, which is a fundraiser for the Charley Pride EP, to continue to finish it. Because as indie artists, like I've poured everything into what I've done. So it's sometimes you have to be like, hey. So when I do live things like that, I take it with me. And, there's some shows throughout this summer that are, spaced about. So you can always go on to, this is New York.
Oh yeah, believe me, I know,
Yes,
I know the feeling.
you can go on to most of like Instagram and the website, and they will have the shows so that people can see where I am live, and I sell stuff there. But yeah, I would probably say, as far as physical things go, the most, through the website and or Amazon, you can do that, like because of Shopify. So yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, guys, if you missed an episode of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar podcast, visit our channels on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, Podchaser, Spotify, and Spreaker. Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. Now, are you on social media? Because I'm on social media too. Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. Guys, want to know what's going on with America's Got Talent? Who won the Masked Singer? Well, on my take on Daniela's music, visit jakes-shake.com. Once again, jakes-shake.com. I want to say thank you so much for visiting us, Danielia. Thank you
No,
so
thank
much. I had a
you.
great time.
Thank you. Keep doing it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, goodbye.